guys over there, and the second class will talk about gastric cancer. So, in this lecture, we will talk about the first thing, always epidemiology, clinical presentation and staging management, and at last, we will give our case and we will discuss about the case. Epidemiology. And gastric cancer is most common cancer in the GI tract, and is the fourth common cancer worldwide. And but you say it's the fourth common type of cancer, but the death rate is the second. So it has a lower incidence, but its mortality is much higher. And you have to know what's behind it. Why? Why does this happen? And at the same time, a GI cancer has a very geographic variations and different regions. The incidence of gastric cancer is totally different. And at the same time, it's also evolving. We used to see a lot of distal gastric cancer, but as people's lifestyle changes and people's living condition improves, we have a lot of decrease of primary distal gastric cancer. We've seen much more GI cancer, GEJ, gastroesophageal junction cancer. So that's it. We want you to know why. Less incidence, but much more mortality. Why? And we want you to know the variations in geography. Here is a map. It's black ones we show has the highest incidence of gastric cancer in the whole world. Most of the time, it's in developing countries, but there are exceptions. Japan and South Korea. These are two developed countries, but the incidence is still the same with China and other Asian countries. Why? And also in South America, Chile, Uruguay, this gastric cancer is very common. And I want you to remember this map. So, of course, in China, our country, incidence is very high and the mortality is also very high. And why? What causes this incident gastric cancer? First thing is H. pylori. H. pylori is it has been designated by the WHO as their carcinogens, H. pylori. And the second is genetic factors, diet, and precancerous changes. And so we will talk each one. First, H. pylori. H. pylori is gastric carcinogenesis. So, economic studies, if we have the risk factor, we have this H. pylori. The development of gastric cancer is much higher. It increases 3 to 6 times the risk. And the risk for gastric cancer is 50 to 73%. And IARC has designated as type 1 carcinogens in 1994. And here is also the map of the H. pylori infection rates. Well, the thing is, it's probably the same with their incidence of gastric cancer. The map shows, so here, H. pylori infection is very high, and so the incidence of gastric cancer is also very high. This is the prevalence of H. pylori infection. And next is, we talked about the H. pylori environmental factors. There is a very interesting studies. A study the Japanese immigrants in the US. So here we can see if the Japanese immigrants they get into the US, so their incidence of gastric cancer for the second generation, the risk decreased significantly. So it means they have the same genetic, right? But what changes? The environmental factor changes, means their diet change, the environment change. So the subsequent generation, after the second generation, the subsequent generation, their risk of gastric cancer is comparable to the general US population. The environment changes the risk of gastric cancer. That's the study. And also, we have these other risk factors. As we say, gastric cancer occurs much more frequently in developing countries. It means these people have lower social economic status. They're poor and poor food storage. They don't have a fridge and fresh food. They don't have a lot of fresh vegetables and fruits, tobacco, alcohol use, and salted and smoked foods. This is probably the reason why Japan has a lot of gastric cancer. These people does love smoked and eating salted foods. So that's why that's their environmental factors for gastric cancer and genetic factors. And for genetic factors, it's not like very significant if you compare with the colorectal cancer. Some of the patients would have family history of gastric cancer, but it's not very common. Some patients would have familial gastric carcinoma syndromes. These syndromes, I've never seen one actually until now. I've been working in the hospital for like almost 10 years, but I've never seen one patient who is diagnosed with this disease. So it's rare. Now we will talk about like precancerous lesions. We have 4 precancerous lesions. If your patient, your scope pain, he will be diagnosed with these lesions, you have to tell the patient, he or she will probably develop gastric cancer in the future. So here are pictures. I want to ask you the specific, what are the lesions? What's your diagnosis? For this one? No? So what's your diagnosis? Ulcer, yes. Gastric ulcer. Gastric ulcer is one of the precancerous lesions for gastric cancer. And this one, what do you see? You see
maybe just infection. Because
Yes.
there's
Okay.
so congestion.
What do you can see? You can see these things, right?
Yeah,
Blood vessels,
yeah.
right under the mucosa. In the long time, you see them? No. You can see the blood vessels. So it's atrophic gastritis. The mucosa has atrophic gastritis. Mucosa becomes thinner, so you can see these vessels. This is atrophic gastritis. If your patient getting this, you have to tell her. And this is gastritis, and this one is a polyp, right? It's very easy for this one. This one is like a little difficult to get to diagnose it, but you know, if these are all the 4 precancerous lesions. If you skip them, you find this, you have to tell the patient. The patient needs a follow-up scope later. These are things, okay. So, and then, so the patient's manifestation, symptoms. Most of the patient, 80% of patient doesn't have any symptoms, or symptomatic or silent. That's there for gastric cancer. And here we go back to the question I have asked. Gastric cancer is the 4th common cancer worldwide, but its mortality is the 2nd one because of this. 80% of patients doesn't have any symptoms. when it's early. So when the patient finally has symptoms, they go to the hospital, most of the patient would be diagnosed at late stage, stage 4. It's uncurable. That's why a lot of patients, it's not the most common cancer, but its mortality is very high. We have to remember it. Even the rest of their symptoms, we can say anorexia, dysentery, abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting. Do you have them? Do you have these symptoms in your everyday life? Yes. It means it's not specific. None of the rest symptoms are not specific. That's the reason. The patient doesn't have any specific symptoms for gastric cancer patients. So most of the patients would get diagnosed at a late stage. That's why it has a much higher mortality rate. And advanced one, weight loss is the most common one. And I don't know, nausea is none of the symptoms is specific. And also, when we see the patient, you will see some like special signs. This is what we call an Irish node. You can see right here, right? You see the lymph node enlargement in his left arm right here. When the patient has this, you will probably think first stage 4, right? He probably has gastric cancer. Here, Marshall's node, right here, between up there supraclavicular fossa, and there has enlarged lymph node right over here. And this systematic Joseph's node. I've seen this one. When the patient, I have one patient who had gastric surgery. He's in chemo, but right in their adjuvant chemo. And then one day the patient tells me, had this thing popped up from his umbilical node. So I say, what's this? I just know I had an examination. I see this systematic Joseph's node. At first I don't know what's this. I don't know it has a name, but then later I found it does have a name, systematic Joseph's node. When you say this, the patient is stage 4. And this one, limitus plastica. I wonder what do you say? What do you say? When you see the stomach, how do you feel?
The stomach is hard, it's not soft.
Yeah.
Because the tissue is the medium resistance.
And that's right. So what if you leave the egg? What do you get? Plastic, right? Plastic. That's how the patient's stomach becomes. Plastic, it's hard, it's not flexible. So that's the special signs for gastric cancer. And stage. We would usually direct our patients into 2 groups, early stage and advanced stage. For early stage, the patient would have a much better prognosis, but this other Japanese version, but we don't use it anymore, just as you know, probably sometimes in your tests, in your examination, they will ask you about these questions. And what we will use is the team and stage. Here, this is the gastric wall, mucosa muscular pluralis, some mucosa muscular pluralis. This is the serosa. These are the 4 layers of the gastric wall. So, and we would also, when we score the patient, we would also have this morphology. You tell their anyway. So we would have this morphology, and their scope. When they scope it, they will give you this diagnosis. When it's early stage, it would have these 3. Type 1, polypoid. You can see here, it looks like a polyp. This is the earlier stage gastric carcinoma. And also type 2, superficial. I will just skip this and just let you know. And a modern thing is, when the patient is advanced stage, we will have this 4 different morphology. And we would call it Borman classification. Type 1, polypoid, type 2, ulcerating, type 3, ulcerating, infiltrating, and type 4, infiltrating. So these are the 4 types of Borman's classification. And Jinliang, we were talking about it. We were talking about in the last class. So I'll just skip it. And so the interesting thing about gastric cancer is there are a lot of big arteries surrounding it. And so we have a lot of lymph nodes surrounding it. We pay so much attention to their lymph node involvement. We have to dissect all the involved lymph nodes. Now pathology, same, most common is adenocarcinoma, lymphoma, most common is adenocarcinoma. And then, so Jinliang stage, metastasis. We talk about cancer. Cancer always have 3 types of metastasis. Lymph node dissemination, blood spread, and direct invasion. These are probably all the solid tumors. They have this, right? Direct invasion, lymph node dissemination, blood spread. But what's this? Peritoneal dissemination. What do you think? What's this? This is the peritoneum. This is a lab image. You see, this is the peritoneal wall. What do you see? You see a lot of little nodules on the peritoneum. When we do the laparoscopy, when you see this, what's the patient's stage? 4. Stage 4, right? It has metastasis. It's stage 4. And this happens a lot in gastric cancer. Even when the patient, we run a test, the patient is probably stage 3, you don't see liver metastasis, you don't see direct invasion, and you don't see a lot of lymph node involvement. But when you do the laparoscopy, the patient has peritoneal dissemination. It's stage 4. It's very common in gastric cancer. I want you to know that. Just don't tell a patient you're totally okay. They're not stage 4. They're not sure. 20% of the patients, when you send them to the OR, you do the laparoscopy, they will still have peritoneal dissemination. I would say this is the most common metastasis in gastric cancer. And we also will have some other special terms. And in gastric cancer, we would perform their digital examination. We would have Brammer shelf. Brammer shelf, as you can see here, doing examination, you see when the cells disseminate right here, and you do the rectal examination, you can feel the mass. That's why in all the patients, we ask the residents to do the digital examination just to rule out the metastasis caused by the gastric cancer. Rosenberg's tumor, and this is also very specific. When the tumor metastasis, it's like the tumor cells, it's like the seeds. It just drops off the gastric wall and implant in the ovary. You can see this enlarged tumors here. We would call it a Krukenberg tumor. It's very often in women. So when a woman comes to you, it has this mass in his ovary. You have to rule out. You have to perform a scope to gastroscopy to rule out the patient. A female patient would probably have a gastric cancer, not actually an ovary tumor. So that's a crude-converted tumor. You have to remember this. And endoscopy. Endoscopy, just like the colorectal cancer, you have it's a gold standard. It can biopsy. Also, it can have we can do their ultrasound here. Here, this is the scope. You can see the lesions right over there, and endoscopic ultrasound. Endoscopic ultrasound is performed with a scope, so we to help the stage the tumor. Why? What do we use the? Well, we said they have T stage, N stage, M stage. We use their EOS, endoscopic ultrasound. What stage does we want to do for the patient? T stage, N stage, or M stage? We want to do their T stage ultrasound. We can see the tumor's invasion through their gastric wall. Here, you see right over there, the lesions, right? The lesions. You can see the lesions over there. And here, what are these?
Lymph node.
Lymph node. Yeah. When you say lymph node enlargement, patient will really have lymph node involvement. It's lymph node positive. That's what their EOS are for. It can diagnose their T stage. At the same time, it can diagnose the N stage, stage N, sometimes. And CAT scan is the most common examination we would run for the patient. And but there's a limitation. A CAT scan doesn't diagnose their very small metastasis, like we have shown you this picture. These nodules, they are very small. So the CAT scan can't detect these lesions. That's why when the laparoscopy comes to it. So there's like one little question here. So what do you think about laparoscopy? Is it a surgery or is it a test?
Both.
Both. Yeah, both. Nowadays, we use laparoscopy as a test. We would stage the patient. We just send him to the OR. We have to tell patients it's not for your surgery. We're using this to stage you, to see if you have peritoneal dissemination. Or sometimes, even the patient doesn't have, we would send him back and do some neoadjuvant therapy first, and then do the surgery later. So you have to remember, laparoscopy, it's not just a surgery. Nowadays, it's a test and a surgery. Treatment, surgery, always. Surgery is basically for all the solid tumor is the mainstay of the treatment and only curable options. So the thing is, in gastric cancer, we care more about the lymphadenectomy. No, because for the exact resection of the gastric, we have a lot of agreements, like Westerners and Easterns agree on the extent of the gastric, but we don't agree with the lymph node adenectomy, But used to we have D1, D2, D3, and D4. We would compare it a lot. In Asia, especially in Japan, we would just do the D2. But in the Western countries, we would do D1. So there are reasons. D1 is just you remove the group 1, D2 group 2, and there's even D2 plus and D3. The thing is here, you see a lot of vessels surrounding it, and we have a lot of lymph nodes that has a specific group. We have a name. We would designate these lymph nodes as group 1, group 2, and group 3, according to the location of the tumor. So if the tumor is distal, the stage group 1 is probably 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's the group. That's group 1, group 2. That's group 1, group 2. But for the Westerns, they just resect the 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the D1. Western just perform this. But at the same time, in Eastern countries, you have to also dissect all the lymph nodes surrounding their splenic artery, hepatic artery. So that's the D2 dissection. And D2 dissection is also nowadays it's standard lymphadenectomy, both in Eastern and in Westerns. Now the West countries have accepted it as a standard lymphadenectomy. Here, this is what you can see after their surgery. Remove all the lymph nodes surrounding it. This is the splenic vein, splenic artery, hepatic artery, gastroduodenal artery. What do you see? You just see the vessel wall. You don't see anything else. That's what you have. What do you see after their lymphadenectomy? Surgical treatment. So this is what I want to show you. Just before their D2 dissection, D2 lymphadenectomy, you can see here. This is the US. US just performed D1, right? What do you see? You see their survival rate is not good, especially compared with Japan. That's why the Western countries they have accepted the D2 lymphadenectomy as the standard procedure for gastric cancer surgery. And here, we want to show you the surgical treatment because we have a lot of it here. You resect their distal part, you connect their gastric to their ileum. And this is one, we call it Billroth 1, Billroth 2, and this is Billroth 1. You just connect straight, when you resect the distal part, you join the remnant gastric to the duodenum. This is the Billroth 1. This is all the types of the surgical treatment. We also have this raw one. It's like very complicated. And what I want to tell you is like, so why don't we do this? It's like when the patient eats something, the patient food comes direct here, right? So this is the duodenum. What after the duodenum? Here, an important structure, an important thing coming up. What's here? Right over here. What's the? What are? Pancreas. And up the bile, right? So we want to leave this part intact, complete, because the pancreas and the bile ducts, all these enzymes and the bile will come here and join the food here and they go into the small intestine. That's where the digestion really starts. So that's basically their mechanism behind this types of reconstruction. And here, as you can show, the same thing, right? Pancreas, bile, all these things goes over there. The food goes here, then they join them together. That's where the digestion really starts. You just know it, okay? You don't need to like totally understand it. Just have a basic knowledge of it. Chemo. Adjuvant chemo can increase the 5-year survival rate and decrease the relapse rate. Combination chemo are recommended. But this thing has been going on for so many years. Just in recent years, the chemo has been accepted as can decrease the relapse. Side effects. So many side effects about this, but I don't want to go to the details of it. If you want to know, you can just check it later. And after all these treatments, what can you expect when the patient asks you, so what's my prognosis? Can I survive? Am I curable? So the thing is, the prognosis is not very good. Patients who have gone to surgery and chemo, the average 5-year survival rate is around 25 to 50%. So That's why. So the patient with prognosis is not very good compared to a lot of solid tumors, especially colorectal cancer. And if we stage the patient, here we have on that. If a patient is stage 1, the 5-year survival rate is very good, around 100%. Stage 1 is 80%, and if the patient is stage 3, I can see these 2 lines here. The 5-year survival is less than 40%. But what's the reality? The reality is, in our country, 80% of the patients are stage 2 and stage 3. I mean, most of our patients have a poor prognosis. That's the reality. Prognosis, as I have talked about, the local regional failure is very high, and especially for the stage 3 patients. And surveillance, follow-up. So the follow-up is probably the same for all the solid tumors. And I will talk, so the patient will come to you like first 2 years, every 3 to 6 months. After that, the rest 3 years, 6 months to 1 year, he has to come to you. So during the follow-up, you will do their biomarker, CAT scan, and ultrasound. It depends on your follow-up period and your doctor. So this is the final case. And we have a 63-year-old referred by GI, history, discomfort, and what we found is lesion. We performed the scope, we found a lesion mid-body of stomach. Biopsy shows adenocarcinoma. Everything healthy, rest of history, physical examination, unremarkable. So, this is the CAT scan. It shows the patient has a lesion about 5 centimeters. We don't see no lymph node involvement. Actually, how do you see the lymph node involvement in a CAT scan? Why? Why do I see the patient doesn't have no lymph node involvement? First, when you see the lymph node involvement, the lymph node is probably surrounding their gastric, right? It's low density. It's low density. So if you don't see the lymph node, probably means the patient doesn't have any lymph node involvement. Because if it gets, the lymph node will enlarge, and the diameter will exceed 1 centimeters. So first, does the tumor infiltrate through the serosum? So, what's your diagnosis? The T stage.
T3.
T3. Yeah, probably right. As you can see, the serosum the margin is clear. It's very clear. It has no involvement, doesn't involve the surrounding organ, and it's not murky, so it has a very clear margin. It's probably T3. So, the next thing is, if we run the test, the patient doesn't have metastasis. So, what's your surgery option? Probably this one is a little difficult for you. So, what's your surgery? Distal gastrectomy, total gastrectomy, proximal gastrectomy. So, the choice is, first thing is, the location of the tumor is their body, stomach body, gastric body. So, what's your surgery? In this type, if the tumor is located here, we would do, most of the time, we would do a total gastrectomy. This is a little hard for you, no, but just you can understand it. So we have talked about it. Laparoscopy. So what's it for? Is it for M1 disease? What role does it play in M1 disease? We have talked about, we can use it, it's a surgery, but nowadays it's becoming more and more like a test. You do the laparoscopy, you diagnose the patient if it has peritoneal dissemination. Why? Why? Because the most common route of metastasis for gastric cancer is peritoneal dissemination, not blood metastasis. That's why. And here we have seen their lymph nodes. How many lymph nodes do we see here? We see 0. We see 0. But here, as we have talked about, because if you see the lymph node is probably surrounding their gastric. So if you see, it means the probably the patient have lymph node involvements. And role for neoadjuvant chemotherapy, this is pretty new. If you want to know the progress in this gastric cancer, you can check out their literature. And how about minimally invasive techniques? Do you guys have any idea what types of surgery does the surgeon perform for gastric cancer in your own country? But as here in my hospital, and basically all 100% of the patients would have laparoscopy. So minimally invasive technique is the standard type of surgery for gastric cancer in my hospital. If you want to know it, you can have a guess and to know what's the situation in your own country. Okay, and I think I'd say thank you. 快乐点哦。